Get the comfy chair!
Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Old with your host Mark and Sam. Hi Sam.
Hello there.
Right, we are doing a comfy chair. It's that time. It's that time again. So we are going to be talking about. This is really we're recording in sort of early August, but this is our July comfy chair really. Shall I start? Do you want to start? How do you want to do it?
I don't mind. I've got like 6 things to talk about, but
well, I'll tell you what. Do you mind if I start? Because
Go ahead.
it was something I meant to mention last time and I completely forgot. So it's one of them, right? I just want to get it out of the way. It's Obi-Wan. It's the TV series Obi-Wan. I don't want to talk about any spoilers just in case anyone's not seen it, but it's a pretty good series. Did you watch it, right?
yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, of course you did. It starts off a little slow, but it's good. And really, it's kind of just a long film, isn't it? It's a long film. It's one long story. And there's some magnificent Jedi action in it.
Yeah.
The last 3 episodes are better than the first 3, in my opinion. It really picks up at episode 4 onwards. And I really, really enjoyed it. I'm kind of, and it was a one shot really. It was intended to be a one shot, and that's what it is. Big recommend for me. I thought it was really well made, well filmed. Ewan McGregor was really good as Obi-Wan, and it's kind of cool that he returned. And also we get Kristen Haydenson back, and he does a. What did I? Oh yeah,
Kristen Haydenson.
I transposed it. Yeah, all right. And it gives a good turn. And from what I've read, he's really pleased that he managed to come back because he got so much shit for the prequels. It's
right.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Apparently, he watched the Clone Wars to catch up.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that character does well in the Clone Wars, doesn't it? It's much better representing the Clone Wars than the prequels.
Actual films, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. With the exception of the Clone Wars movies, but that's just horrible all round. So, okay. So everyone's kind of forgotten that one. So yes, I just want to give Obi-Wan, which is on Disney Plus, a big recommend. Right, back to you.
Okay, so my first one is actually, it sort of leads into like a sequence of stuff. So what I saw, caught it on YouTube by a channel called Folding Ideas, and it was a video called An Exhaustive History of Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings.
Okay, wow.
And it's just talking about like the way Ralph Bakshi made films and what he did and how that's kind of how we make films now. Like if you think about it, it's animation laid over rotoscope in some places, and at some points it's just deliberately bad photocopies of the original footage just to make it like just with recoloring instead of like animated over, which is normal rotoscope. And that's kind of how they do like Marvel films now. Everyone's just sort of stood around in like a motion capture suit performing, and they just animate the superhero outfit around them.
And get the computer gets a feel for their movements and stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, give me the name of that again, because
it's called An Exhaustive History of Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings.
It sounds like it might be quite long.
It's only like an hour.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, it's just it goes into a lot of his other films as well, like Felix the Cat, Wizards, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've seen Felix the Cat. It's okay. Wizards, I've only seen clips of, but I have seen Lord of the Rings. Did we cover Lord of the Rings? I can't remember.
I don't think we've covered this Lord of the Rings.
No. And there is it's only the first. It's up.
It's the first 2 books.
Is it the first 2 books?
Technically, it's the first 3 books because it's the 2 Fellowship of the Ring books and it's
1.5, right?
Yeah, it like basically. Okay, past a certain point, I'll talk about it later, but it's not like a full adaptation. But this guy, Folding Ideas, he just talk a lot about how like Lord of the Rings, a lot of its development, so more like 'Cause apparently there was a whole like other script that was being thrown around at United Artists because Lord of the Rings was technically public domain at the time.
Okay, so
Because
they
there
could
was
do whatever.
some weird loophole where, because they ran out of production. In America, they only produced 1,500 copies of Lord of the Rings for the whole country.
How odd.
Like
Okay.
the original like book publisher did that because
didn't think it was
they
gonna
had so
sell.
little confidence in it, and then it sold out almost straight away, and they just sat on it. They didn't make more, and so the license ran out. So it technically went to public domain in America. So that's
that
where
is weird.
if you ever look into it, there's loads of like unauthorized Tolkien books that they only got back into like their legal holding in like the 80s, something like that.
Wow.
It's
How about
ridiculous.
that?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I quite like, but I have to. So, I mean, just to go back to your point about books, each of the 3 books that are known as the films actually are 2 each one's 2 books within itself.
Yeah.
So there's actually 6 Lord of the Rings books. That's what we're talking about.
And
we're
while they're
talking about the first
intercut
3.
in the films, the books, it's basically the first film is basically it's like the first half and the second half. With books with 2000 Return of the King, if you've not read them, it's basically Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, and occasionally Merry and Pippin, and then Frodo and Sam.
Yeah.
And then it is Aragorn, Legolas, and Pippin.
Frodo and Sam and Gollum.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Just at least some weirdly... I love the pacing of the, like, books, what would be books 4, 5, and 6. Because it ends with Frodo being poisoned by Shelob, and everyone thinks he's dead. And then it moves on to Aragorn and goes all the way up until the Black Gate.
Yes.
Where they're like, oh, hey, also, your friend is dead. And they show the Mithril shirt.
Sure, yeah.
And then it cuts back to, no, he's alive. So
yeah, I have to say that the book is structured in a really nice way, and the movies, while structured differently, are also structured in a really good way. It's kind of interesting. I mean, there's some major... I'm trying to think. There's the Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, Tom Bombadil
that's
always
not
gets
in it at
cut
all.
because that's
them just resting.
It's it's just them. The only bit it plays into it later is that Pippin has Merry has a magic sword. So
yeah, and also doesn't Tom Bombadil turn up in the fight at the end, or am I thinking of the weird bear guy? I can't remember.
Yeah,
it's been a long
Hobbit. You're thinking of the bear guy in the Hobbit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tom Bombadil does not leave his like immediate area, and it's to the point where they're like, well, why don't we just give the ring to Tom Bombadil because he can protect it from anything.
Yeah,
and
he's kind of a super being of some sort.
And kind of counterpoint at the Council of Elrond is like he cares so little he'll just lose it and then he'll get somewhere else.
Yes, he's above everything, really. I have to say I do like the Bashki one. I always thought that Disney had a good look at that and then ripped it off with the Black Cauldron.
A lot of companies were doing their own like big fantasy stuff that also included rotoscoping at the time.
Rotoscoping is quite effective in Lord of the Rings, I have to say. It looks really interesting and different from Disney. Now Disney kind of rotoscoped, but theirs was more like they looked at photographs.
It was an animation reference as opposed to a full.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, but yes, and it's weird that in Black Cauldron there's a character who sounds just like Andy Serkis's Gollum as well. I can't remember his name, but it's weirdly similar. So that's kind of interesting.
This actually kind of leads me on to my next one, which is I then went and watched the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings.
Okay, well, let's go straight into that.
It's a weird film. Because half the time there's not a background to what they're doing.
In what sense? You mean?
In the sense that it's literally the characters like walking in like a coloured void sort of thing while they're fighting.
Oh, okay. I hadn't really noticed that. I think it's quite engaging, I noticed, but now you're saying it, I'm kind of... Usually it's just like a red background or a blue background, something like that, right?
The whole of the Battle of Helm's Deep, it just has like red clouds as a background.
It saves a lot of hassle, doesn't it?
It saves a lot of problems when you're like it also saves when you're filming the stuff you're rotoscoping from, because you don't need anything in the background. You don't need to make a set.
Yeah, that's probably why, isn't it?
Yeah, most likely. But there's a lot of like cool. Well, I say cool. It's like weird things that producers insisted on. Like apparently they insisted on Saruman being renamed Aruman because it was too similar to Sauron. But then later on, it swapped producers several times. I learned this from the Folding Ideas video. But apparently one of the newer producers went in and tried to change all the references to Saruman back to Saruman. So while they're reading, in the same sentence, someone will go, Saruman, you can't be doing this. And like Saruman will respond, but I will become Aruman of many colors. And it's like, what is going on?
So weird.
Yeah.
So they use the name interchangeably. I always, now if I remember rightly, Aragorn is John Hurt, right? But he kind of looks more like a Viking than a ranger, if I remember rightly. He's got like a metal helmet with horns, right?
No,
and it's a bit weird.
That's Boromir.
Is it Boromir? Okay, Boromir looks weird. Boromir looks weird to me. Well, that one character just doesn't look right in this. But yeah, I kind of appreciate it.
And Legolas is Anthony Daniels.
How weird. That is so strange. And the plan was there was going to be a second part, but it never came off.
Yeah, it never came off. So they
made their money back. The budget was $4 million. They made 30. That's enough to justify it, I would imagine.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't think the United Artists has any confidence in it. And also, apparently, it was just a huge time commitment.
Yeah.
They had to film all the rotoscoping, then they had to animate over it. And then,
it takes a long time. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. Right, my next one is, I was going to leave this. Basically, I think last time or the time before that, I talked about Doctor Who, the Jon Pertwee years, right? And I was going to leave the Tom Baker years until the end, but he's got 7 seasons, and I'm about not quite halfway through, but I'm a fair way through. And I just got to mention how good those early seasons of Tom Baker are. They're really excellent. They're scary and weird, and they've got some interesting lore. That's kind of controversial in the time about the Time Lords as well. The 3 standout ones, and there's four. Most of them are really good, but the real standout one for me is Genesis of the Daleks. With Davros. That's just I think that is my favourite Doctor Who
His
adventure.
whole little speech about a capsule that would kill everything. It's like, would you use it? He's like, yeah, I'd use it just to see what it did.
Davros is so mad. He's so good. Yes, I would. But a couple of other ones that are really good. There's one's called Seeds of Doom, where these seeds found in the Arctic basically take over people and they start mutating, which is a big nod to both Quatermass and probably something like The Thing. That's a good one. Another one, the one that I think has got the controversial thing, which is very Hammer film actually, is Brain of Morbius. Where there's this big monster with a brain in a jar walking around, and he's a infamous, notorious Time Lord. But this guy's been keeping his brain, trying to build a body, and when the doctor turns up, he goes, the perfect head. And all this, and also he's got this servant called Kondo or something like that. This mad cross sort of Igor. Imagine a massive Igor with a hook for a hand, a massive hook, not a little hook, a massive hook for a hand. It keeps going about. The doctor keeps saying, "If you help me, I'll put your arm back on," and all this sort of thing. But there is a scene where Morbius and the Doctor kind of do a mind fight, and we see the projections of their minds, and there's one bit of it where we see images in between them projected, and he starts regressing back through the different
previous doctors.
And it goes through several that aren't before Hartnell. Several. But that's like, that must mean he regenerated over and over, and Hartnell's just one of many. And other people say, well, maybe it was the Morbius's faces, but I think it's taken as canon that Hartnell is the first iteration of the Doctor. But it's kind of interesting. Another one I watched recently is Mask of Mandragora, where he's fighting a sort of almost like an elder god entity that can exist in energy, but it sort of possesses people in, I think, 15th century Italy. And it basically is trying to stop the Enlightenment because it could then take over the planet. So there's all this interest. And Doctor Who's making jokes about Leonardo da Vinci and this, that, and the other, and all this. Really good. Sarah Jane's in all of these, and she's really good. So it's a great series. I'll probably talk about it again when I get to the end, but that's going to be in about 8 months, I reckon. I've got quite a lot of shows to watch still.
Yeah.
Though I'm hammering through them. Right, so what's your next one?
My next one is actually, because it got discussed in that Folding Ideas video, was the Rankin Bass Return of the King adaptation.
Oh, okay. I was going to mention that when we were talking about, but I couldn't remember the details. I do remember there was a Return of the King film, which is different. Look, I haven't seen it.
It's a completely different look and everything to the Ralph Bakshi.
It's Rankin Bass, right?
It's Rankin Bass.
It's like a simple Disney.
They did make an adaptation of The Hobbit before Ralph Bakshi made his version of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But they apparently had Return of the King like waiting in the sidelines while Bakshi made his, because there was some sort of conflict of some sort of loophole where like they couldn't release it while Bakshi's was going to be released, but then they just waited for it to get like a few bad reviews and then they put out theirs. So there's a lot to say about this. First off, it's a musical.
What are the songs like? And then again,
the songs vary. Some of them sound almost Tolkienian. There's one called Frodo of the Nine Fingers, which is just like a recap of the first two books. And it's all told as like a flashback as them, because they're feasting after they've won, and this Elrond instructs this bard to like tell them the tale of what's happened. And so this bard starts with Frodo of the Nine Fingers. There's a few like funny bits, mostly drawn from the absolute absurdity of a situation. So they do the whole like Battle of Pelennor Fields, including the Witch King like having his fight with Eowyn. And they do a pretty good job of the like I Am No Man scene. It's undercut quite a bit by the Witch King sounding like Skeletor. So he's going.
Wow.
It's like, none may come between the Nazgul and his prey.
Oh my
god.
Yeah, you know what? If I remember rightly, the animation's a bit He-Man as well.
Yeah, tracks. But there's also the goblins. Well, the orcs have a song called "Where There's a Whip, There's a Way."
Lovely. There's kind of songs like that with the orcs in the book, though,
In The Hobbit, they've got that, what's it, rip, gnash, tear, slash.
Yeah. They've got those brutal...
Goblins and orcs have, like, horrible music that's just all about beating people up.
Yeah, so. They're like drinking songs for misanthropes. They're kind of like that, right? I was looking at the voice cast. John Huston jumps out at me as Gandalf. Was he a good Gandalf?
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was...
Now, did you recognise that voice from anything else? Right. Basically, I don't. Have you seen There Will Be Blood? The main actor, whose name escaped me, the method actor. What's his name? I've got to look this up. He basically does a John Huston impression. In addition, many people think Bane, Tom Hardy's Bane, was kind of doing a John Huston impression too. Just so you know.
I couldn't hear it, but the other kind of notable one was Sam was played by Roddy McDowall.
Yeah, Roddy McDowall. Weird. That's a weird Sam. And weird that he's in basically not secondary, but he's not like, they haven't got anyone particularly famous for Frodo or anything like that. Daniel Day-Lewis was the actor I was thinking of.
Yeah.
He's basically doing a John Hughes thing. John Hughes has got a very distinctive voice, and we have heard him before. He was the Truthsayer in Battle for the Planet of the Apes as well. So, but he's got a famously distinctive voice, and he's in lots of really interesting films like Chinatown and stuff like that. He's a director and an actor. He directed some great films too, John Hughes. Casey Kasem is Mary. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, was it good?
It was interesting. It's a bit variable on actual quality, but it's got an interesting art style where all the hobbits are like these kind of. They're like they've got a really sort of cartoony look, whereas everyone else has this almost like high fantasy sort of aesthetic. Elrond has a halo. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting film. I recommend watching it, but I don't recommend watching it again. So
right, it's a worthwhile one and done kind of
yeah.
thing. Yep. Okay, fair enough. All right. My next one. Are you done?
Yeah, that's done for that one.
Okay. My next one is a couple of horror westerns I watched. I'm doing a twofer here. I'm reading a book, and I think I've mentioned a book by Sean Hogan before called England Screaming, where he goes through this like fictional history of England based around horror films. The through line being mostly Damien Thorne, but Dracula, Quatermass, all sorts, and they somehow all intertwine. It's not one long narrative. Each chapter's a little story about one or two characters where 2 or 3 films interact in kind of interesting ways. It's kind of hard to describe, but I'll do my best. However, I've started reading his second book in that series, which is about American horror and American history, and it's called Twilight's Last Screaming. An example of one of the chapters, just to give you a feel, is it directly interrelates the Michael Myers character from Halloween into the world of Twin Peaks. That's just kind of weird intersections it produces this book. It's a really interesting book. However, because it's American history, a lot of the early chapters concern themselves in the Old West, and it's vampires in the Old West and various other weird things that you don't expect. And basically westerns, we know, and westerns we don't know are kind of intersecting. For example, Outlaw Josie Wells gets mentioned quite a lot because a lot of the chapters are set around the Civil War.
Okay.
So Josie Wells, he doesn't appear as a character, but he's known to people, and whenever he's sort of mentioned, he's like, yeah, that guy's faster than a rattlesnake. Do not ever draw against Josie Wells. It's kind of that vibe. But having done this, he mentioned several westerns which I watched, but 2 I thought were standouts, and I'd like to just discuss them. The first one I watched is on YouTube, and it's a 70s one, and it's kind of, I mean, I have to say the YouTube version looks horrible, but the quality of the film comes through that, if you know what I mean. It's well acted and well written and sort of tense, and essentially it's called Shadow of Shikara. It's also called things like Curse of Demon Mountain. That gives you an idea. But it's like, I'd say the first 80% is straight Western, with some there's something weird in this place. I've heard horrible stories about it, but we don't know. And then it's really only the back end. And it's not even a horror. It's more like a supernatural thriller. By the way, but it's interesting because the film starts with like a battle, Confederate versus Yankee battle where the Confederates are properly beaten, and it's like the end of the war pretty much. But then it transposes into this quite famous song. I was really shocked in this cheap looking old film. It transposed in a song called The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, right? By a band called The Band from the 60s. But this was done in 76, I think. This was done like 8 years after that single came out. But weirdly, the first line of that song is, "My name is Virgil Caine." or Virgil Kane's my name. And the character in the first character, one of the characters we meet right at the beginning is Virgil Kane,
Okay.
and he's dying, and it's Slim Pickens, the actor who was like the henchman to the bad Hedley Lamar in Blazing Saddles. This very distinctive voice, he's the guy that said, "You use your tongue prettier than a $20 whore." That guy.
Yeah.
He's got and he's Virgil Kane. He's really good. He's very famous. He was in, for example, Doctor Strangelove and stuff like that. And I think he was in another Western. I think he was in quite a famous Western called Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. But he's very famously known for Doctor Strangelove. But he and probably Blazing Saddles. But he turns up in this, and he's basically wounded badly. But he tells another guy who's called Wishbone Cutter, great name, right? That he found these diamonds, and he goes, he tells them where he buried them in this mountain. He hid them in this cave in this mountain, and he says, "I want you to have them." And he's and the main guy, Wishbone Cutter, is played by a guy called Joe Don Baker, who you'd probably best know as the weird military guy from The Living Daylights. Does that ring a bell? The guy that,
No.
And he also played a CIA friend of James Bond in a later film. It was just a different character. Anyway, he's a very stocky guy. He looks more like an actor from the 50s than the 70s, I have to say. Anyway, it's him and a few other characters. Sandra Locke's in it, who was also in Josie Wells, interestingly, as a woman they kind of rescue from Native Americans. But essentially, Wishbone Cutter and his like a Native American tracker who worked for his company, his military brigade, but everyone died apart from Wishbone Cutter, is also with him, and he's called Moon. He's he isn't a Native American, but it's well done and respectful, I have to say. And essentially, again, this journey, they also recruit this other guy who's an expert on diamonds to come with them, and the three of them are trekking across the Old West, and they're meeting various people, and that's it. And they rescue this woman, Drusilla, who is Sandra Locke. And as they get towards the mountain, weirder and they keep saying things like, "Yeah, I've heard weird places," and someone actually says, "Oh yeah, that mountain's full of haints." He calls them haints, which are ghosts, vengeful ghosts, right? And stuff like that. And as they get nearer and nearer, weirder stuff starts happening. It kind of turns out the mountain was ready for them, basically, and it's kind of possessed by an eagle spirit, and the Native Americans don't go near it, and there's various characters unsavory characters they meet. So it's very much like Josie Wells. It's like a cheap version of Josie Wells, but it's really good, and I recommend it. It's on YouTube. The other one, I've been rambling on a bit about this. The other one's called The Burrowers, and this one is a bit like someone put Bone Tomahawk and The Descent into a blender and came up with a film. This one's much more horror. Basically, these weird creatures exist in the Old West. The Native Americans know about them. And the translation from the Native American language to the best of the white guys can figure out is The Burrowers. Which is unfortunate. It sounds like a kid's film, right? But
yeah, it sounds like The Borrowers.
It does sound like The Borrowers. But in this, and this is Old West stuff, is Clancy Brown is one of the main people in it, and he is awesome. He's really good. Clancy Brown is so good as an old Western guy. He's kind of perfect. Another actor who's worth mentioning is in it, who plays this kind of sadistic cavalry officer. And they're all kind of hunting these things, but they think it's a tribe. But they don't know the name of the tribe. That's what they think they're hunting, but in fact it turns out to be something completely different. It's played by Doug Hutchison, who was the weird, scary Eugene Toombs from the X-Files. Okay. Is him, and he was also Jigsaw's brother in Punisher Warzone, if I remember right. The mad one who killed people if they mentioned he was mad. That guy. Yeah. He plays it much more restrained in this, but he is quite good as a statistic cavalry officer. Honestly, when I first saw him, I thought, is that Paul Rudd? It was like he looked like Paul Rudd. It's something about his forehead and eyes. He looks like Paul Rudd when he isn't pulling a weirdo face. Really good Western, The Burrows. I gave it 4 out of 5. I really, really enjoyed it. That one you have to get yourself. A Shadow of Shikara is actually on YouTube, and it's really watchable. And it's one of those ones you start and you think, oh, the quality of this is so bad I can't watch this, but it's actually the acting and the script come through that you realise it's pretty good. That's a twofer there. They're horror westerns. Anyway.
Okay. So my next one is actually a book, but I listened to it in audio form from Audible, actually. So it's a book called For the Emperor that I was listening to while I was painting my Warhammer models. It is it's actually a 40k book, very much inspired by Blackadder.
Really? What, comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy Warhammer book.
Okay, that sounds alright.
So the framing of the book is that there's an Inquisitor who's they're fairly high up members of Imperial Society. They basically have freedom to do what they want, where they want, to the point of blowing up planets if they deem it necessary. It's an Inquisitor looking over the memoirs of this associate of hers called Caiaphas Cain.
Okay, I've heard of that character. Definitely.
Yeah, Caiaphas Cain is a complete coward in his own words. Every action that he undertakes, he does to big himself up, so that he looks good, so that he can get a desk job. But unfortunately, every action he undertakes that makes him look good, people are like, oh my god, it's the hero of the Imperium. Oh, we need to send him to the bigger and badder battles. And every single time it's like, oh, please,
trying to get out of it. Oh, that sounds great, actually.
It's really funny because, like, the Inquisitor, who is usually present in the book in the books in some form, is able to have her own snarky commentary on what's going on, and she'll usually add like other in-universe like documents, like, oh, here's an excerpt from a proper historical document on this war. I apologize for how overwritten it is. Sort of thing.
Right.
There's a lot of really good ones. Actually, when the Inquisitor and Cain first meet, he's just talking to some singer that he's met at this party for the Imperial Governor, the Imperial Regent, I think he is. He's throwing a big party so that he can sort of schmooze up to some aliens that are also on the planet. And if you know anything about 40k, they don't like aliens. The humans don't like aliens coming near them. So Cain is there because he thinks there might be a war, and the Inquisitor is there because she thinks that the entire planet's going to go traitor. So she's probably weighing up blowing up the planet. But he's talking to this songstress, and she's like, oh yeah, what's your name? She's like, Amberly. And she goes, oh yeah, Amberly, be careful. I hear there's like Inquisition agents, and it's like from the notes of Amberly Vale, Inquisitor. Yeah, there was an Inquisitor there. I was there. So
Wow. Sounds fun.
It's not phrased in that way. It's like Cain is almost correct like this. He's frequently almost on the spot. And despite she does talk a lot about him in a good way, and he's even got a Baldric character who's this weird like smelly guy called Jurgen that no one else can stand, but Cain keeps around because it stops people coming into his office if he has him as a secretary.
I see.
So they have to sit and wait with Jurgen, who stinks to high hell.
Okay.
And he always shows up and saves the day in the books. Like it's kind of just like an ongoing joke that Jurgen shows up and shoots the whatever Cain is fighting with a melter gun, which is a microwave gun. It just melts stuff. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's a really fun book. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
You enjoyed it. How long is it? How long?
This book, listening to it, is I think it was about 7 hours total.
Oh, that's pretty short then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I've seen discussions about, do you call it listening? Do you call it reading? I think the consensus is you can use reading, even though you're listening, because it's still a book and you're consuming the words. So reading is fine. Cool. Right. My next one is also inspired from the book I just described, but it's a straightforward spaghetti western. So it's in the same vein as the ones I just talked about, but this particular western is there's nothing supernatural about it. It's just a spaghetti western. It's one that I know by reputation, and for some reason I've never got to it, and I was kind of apprehensive because it's supposed to be one of the great spaghetti westerns, and I thought, do you know what I mean? Sometimes a film gets so elevated, you think, I'm not sure I want to watch this because what happens if I don't like, and Citizen Kane, isn't it? For years I never watched that, and finally got into it, and it was fairly mundane. And I thought, what was the big deal? Right, I should have just watched it. Anyway, this one is called The Great Silence. Have you heard of this one?
No.
I'll tell you what, Klaus Kinski's a main character in it, and he's really good. And he's like the bad guy. He's called Loco. He's a bounty hunter. But basically the protagonists are men who've done, things wrong. But there's also another one. You know what it's like with the spaghetti westerns. There's another guy who's after some sort of vengeance who's called Silence because his throat's been cut and he can't talk. But he's a super fast. But it's standard spaghetti western, and there's like these two are revolving around each other, and then basically Silence is kind of protecting guys that have got bounties on their head but are trying to reform, while Loco is after those guys. But in the end, Loco gets obsessed with Silence and kind of tries to engineer things so those two have to face off, and it's all set in the snow, which is so weird, right? It's directed by the same guy that did Django, and you remember Django's a pretty cool film, bit bonkers, but this one's a slightly more mature western. Now I have to say 75% through it was like, what's so special about this? This feels like a really bog standard kind of spaghetti western to me, but I think it's the last act that elevates it, because I kind of got it once I watched it. I can see why people really, really like this western. I don't think it's as good as Fistful of Dollars, Once Upon a Time in the West, Good, Bad and the Ugly. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as those. I actually still prefer Django, but it's kind of up nearly close to the level of Django, in my opinion. And it's often held as being it's Sergio Corbucci was the director I'm talking about. This one is often considered his best film, but I still like Django a lot more. And there's several cuts that the ending's quite dark, and there are several versions of the ending, and like speculation of whether they were filmed or just scripted, or whether they were filmed and then just lost. Where there's the ending we get, the original, there's a so-called happy ending, and there's a so-called ambiguous ending that's talked about. But I think as it stands, and I have to say Klaus Kinski is so striking in this. He's got blonde hair. And you know what his face is like. He just looks mad, doesn't he? And he's this like he's quietly spoken. He's not like your usual bad guy in a spaghetti western. He just talks real quiet, and he never even gets angry. He just and he's quite polite to people. It's so weird. He's so weird because he's so unusual for like a bad guy in a spaghetti western. But yeah, I really like this. It was a really interesting film. Like I said, I prefer Django. Django's just more nutty, if nothing else. And Django's kind of a mad remake of A Fistful of Dollars, isn't it? Whereas instead of two bandits and Texans, it's like Klansmen and even worse bandits as the two groups. It's fine. Klansmen, though, it's like blimey. And that's just a town full of mud, whereas this film is a town like a place snow. I don't think it's never not snowing or in snow at all. It's just snow all the time.
Interesting. Aesthetics of cowboys.
Yeah, it is
like desert.
I believe it's considered part of a trilogy with Django, Great Silence, and another movie which are called the Blood and Mud trilogy. Because because they're quite bloody, these films, and I'm trying to remember what is. Oh yeah, apparently the last one's called The Specialist, which I've never even heard of. It's the Great Silent is considered the second film in the director's Mud and Blood trilogy. Django first, The Specialist last. So there you go. Might try The Specialist just to see, but yeah, Django and The Great Silent's a pretty solid film. So there's no reason to think The Specialist isn't, other than I've never heard of it. So yeah. Right, your next one.
Okay, my next one and my last one. I haven't watched or played that much. My last one is Final Fantasy XIV, which is an MMO on PC and on the PlayStation, I guess, family of consoles. It's on PS4 and 5, and you can play it sort of interchangeably. But what it is you play as this an adventurer in the fantasy realm of Eorzea.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of stuff. It's a very story-driven MMO, so I don't want to go too much into the actual story, but it's a standard sort of MMO controls. So you're just pushing buttons, waiting for timers, that sort of thing, and avoiding the area of effects. It really flourishes in that it is a story. You could pick it up and just purely play single-player stuff. Well, aside from the story dungeons, which are you have to do multiplayer, but you can do it without ever actually interacting with the people around you in the game. Whereas others you have to do I gotta go grind the player versus player stuff. Oh, I gotta go do this. Oh, I gotta go do that.
Yeah.
All of it's sort of there's enough content for the story-driven stuff that you can just play that and still get I'm gonna say a couple of 100 hours of content out of it just doing that.
Yeah. That's cool.
The one downside is it's a subscription service, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but it's only £8, and side bonus, most MMOs, if you pick your character in your character race and class, you're locked as that, or you have to pay real money to change it. Yeah. In Final Fantasy, you can be every single class as one character. You just literally just switch the equipment and it switches the class over.
Oh, that's cool. So you get to try different things. So if you
get to play everything.
If you want to be like a thief, I don't know what sort of characters, but say a thief,
like your rogues,
wizard, yeah. Cool. So what's the gameplay like? Is it a bit like Shadow Skyrim or something?
No, it's much more. Closest would probably be Kingdoms of Amalur.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love that game. Yeah, is. So it's first person perspective, and you.
No.
Oh, it's third. Oh no, Kingdoms of Amalur is third, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, hold on. I think you can switch in it. I'm not sure now.
No, you can't switch the Kingdoms.
Okay.
But so it's a very high fantasy sort of setting. There's a lot of floating cities and that sort of thing. You can. Currently, I've been playing a mini storyline called the Gentleman Inspector Hildebrand, who is it's Inspector Clouseau, but in this high fantasy setting, where he thinks he's amazing and he thinks he's the greatest. He's a complete idiot, and it's just shenanigans comedy, and it's amazing. I highly recommend playing this. You can actually play the base game and the first expansion completely free. For as long as you want.
Nice. That's cool.
If you want to buy the rest, you can buy the rest and you get some extra stuff, but then you have to start paying subscription. So you can.
Okay, so you can have a good old trial then.
Yeah, you could. There's people that put 1,000 hours into the game without even giving them a penny. So.
Oh, nice. So that's worth knowing. That's worth knowing.
Yeah, it's a real. It's a fun game worth a try. But if you don't like it, understandable. MMOs are kind of not everyone's cup of tea, but yeah. Really fun.
It depends. If they're often quite relaxing, aren't they? Because you're just wandering around doing stuff, and you can drop it and pick it up as you go. That's cool. Okay, and it's been around a fair while, right? That one, 10 years or so.
It had a really bad release. It was so bad that they actually went and basically deleted the original game and just made a new one.
Bit like under No Man's Sky or something like that, right?
Well, No Man's Sky's kind of continued building on what was originally there and got this. This, they completely changed, how the pace of gameplay, pretty much everything, and made it an in-universe event where the world kind of got destroyed by a giant monster. Yeah. But no one can remember what exactly happened, and they're all back. No, it's referred to as like I think it's the sixth great cataclysm, sixth umbral cataclysm, something fancy like that. But
Okay.
like it's an in-universe thing where like no one can remember what happened, but everything seems to be back to a new status quo.
Yeah.
But people are still trying to find out what happened. So
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, it sounds all right. It sounds.
Yeah, it's a fun
okay.
game.
What do you play on PC?
I play it on PC, yes. But be aware if you do start on one console, you'll have to like buy the expansions. If you buy expansions, you'll have to buy the expansions separately for each system.
Right, okay, fair enough. Right, my last one is something I'm sure we've talked about in the past, and I know you're familiar with, which is the graphic novel The Watchmen,
Okay.
12-parter. I just decided to reread it because I watched the TV series I really like. I've got the Watchmen movie to watch again. I've got the ultimate cut, the 4-hour one. I want to watch that again. But I like to dip back in the source material, and I was in the mood. And honestly, it's so rich and all encompassing without being particularly overwhelming. It's the actual story is pretty easy to follow. It's the background that's rich, the context, the little images you see in the background of what's going on, and sort of the implications. It is a relatively simple story, but it's just really wonderful. And bringing to life things like the comedian and Rorschach and Ozymandias and Night Owl as real, credible costumed heroes in a world where no one except one's got superpowers.
Just
right?
DC characters. So instead of Night Owl, it would have been Batman. Instead of Rorschach, it would have been The Question.
Yeah, that's interesting because specifically in the Watchmen universe, no one's got superpowers apart from Dr. Manhattan. That's it. And Dr. Manhattan is ridiculously powerful. He'd deal with Superman in a second. Wouldn't even be close.
To the point where I think, from what I gather, the most recent DC universe stuff that they're doing, it's revealed that all of the DC universe has been whatever experiment Dr. Manhattan has been running. Because at the end he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see what I can do.
I'm going to another galaxy and see it."
It's like I'm just gonna go there and see what I can do, experiment myself. That's the DC unit.
Oh, you're joking? That's nuts. That is bananas. So it was super enjoyable. I just Rorschach. I know he's a violent thug and so on,
a violent thug and a
but
race.
it's so interesting. It's so interesting. What makes me laugh is I was watching the Watchmen TV series, and there's these people that are like Rorschach followers, right? They found his journal and they've used it to twist into their right-wing conspiracy. And I just remember thinking as I was watching it, Rorschach would kill all of you in a second and hate you. Because he's not about race. He hates bad people. That's it, basically. And he's super violent.
He's a racist. He does talk a lot about.
Well, it's a bit. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm sort of whitewashing him a bit, aren't I? He is a racist, but generally he just hates bad people. That's his thing. It's not about race for him. It's about bad people. Though, yeah, you're right. He's sort of a misogynist and a racist somewhat. But when he confronts bad people, he deals with them in quite extreme ways.
Yeah.
He's like an id monster, basically. He just does things on impulse whenever he hits bad people. And he never gets flustered or anything, even when it looks like he's going to die.
My favourite bit of that book is Rorschach, getting psychoanalyzed. And he's just immediately like, okay, you think you know what you're getting into? You do not know what you're getting into. You think this is going to be some big, break where you're going to be the guy that psychoanalyzed Rorschach? You don't want to do this. And then he pretends to be nice for the first few sessions. Yeah. But then when the psychologist confronts him, it's like he just sort of sits forward. It's like, okay, so here's what I'm actually seeing. It's a dog with its head split in two because of a cleaver that I used.
And the reason for that is, and he tells him why. And essentially, he haunts the psychiatrist's dreams for the rest of the. What's it basically? Because he's talked to Rorschach and he sees what Rorschach's really like. I just like the way Rorschach deals with the prison, and I think they did it really well in the film. Where Rorschach's like, "You think I'm caught in here with you, but no, you're caught in here with me. Jackie L. Haley does a great job as Rorschach in the film as well. And I just like he's uncompromised. You know, he will not compromise. He knows what will happen to him if he doesn't, but he absolutely refuses to compromise and wants to precipitate things because of that, right? I think he basically can't live with himself is kind of it.
No, Rorschach is basically suicidal the entire.
Yeah. It's just the stories the other.
He's trying for suicide by villain because hey, if he, it's a win-win scenario. If he loses, he dies, but if he wins, someone bad is dead.
Yeah, that's right. I still my favourite bit of it is where they're Night Owl and what's her name, Silk Spectre are talking and saying, do you remember that guy that got off on being beaten up by it? So costume, we realised we left him alone. He goes, what happened to him? He goes, he tried it with Rorschach. And he said, what happened? Rorschach threw him down a lift shaft. Yeah. So yeah. It's a great graphic novel. It's worth reading every couple of years. It takes a couple of hours to read, but man, it's so dense and rich, and it's interesting. The whole there's a whole pirate story being read by a kid, and the reason is because costume heroes are a real thing in America. That's the premise. Superhero comics don't become a big thing.
Yeah,
so they have pirate stories,
high fantasy sort.
And pirates and stuff like that. So that's what it's kind of interesting. But it really is worth watching the Watchmen TV series when you get a chance, if you ever get a chance. It's so good. It's I cannot believe how good they did it, being referential to the source material, but producing a story equivalent but different from the original as well, in many ways equivalent, not exactly the same by far, but it deals with like a modern world stuff, masks, and this was before COVID. It was that it was right-wing extremists before Trump. It's so weird that it sort of presaged a lot of stuff that actually happened. It's so weird. All right then, okay, we'll wind out there then. So that's our comfy chair for this for July. And next time we'll be doing one of our picks of usually something more recent, but it might be anything, right? It might be anything. We'll have to figure it out online, but we'll do that next time. Okay, so bye from me.
Bye.